How's it going, everyone? I finally had a little bit of time, got to the store, upgraded. This is my old M1 Mac Mini to the M2 Mac Mini. There's obviously not a lot of difference in how they're looking physically, but there is a little bit of a performance jump I've noticed so far, and so we'll talk about that a little bit. Just the first things that I've noticed in the first 24, 48 hours of owning this new Mac Mini. Let's do it. So I finally got to the store and had a chance to buy this thing. It's just kind of, January was kind of a slow month. They don't want to up my expenses too much. February is kind of busy, so I was working, didn't have a chance to go and get this thing, but it's pretty great so far. I don't want to take you through like a video where I'm just updating software. It's not going to show much in the video. But for me, since I already had the M1 Mac Mini, it's kind of easy just to basically just put the new machine up, replace the cables, plug in the new cables, and it's been great. When I got my first M1 Max, MacBook Air, and the M1 Mac Mini, I did the little fun thing where you kind of just open a bunch of apps at once and it's very instant. Same thing happened here. I use this computer for a lot of web browsing and answering emails, invoicing, and stuff like that. So, I know it's going to be super reliable for that stuff. That's really not a huge issue for me. Just in terms of everyday use stuff, the Wi-Fi is still running fast, the Ethernet connection is still running fast. I don't have any kind of crazy internet speed, so the 300 megabytes that I'm getting from my Verizon internet, the Wi-Fi or hardwired in, is performing around the same as it would as always, so it's at least reliable on that end. One thing that was cool that I wasn't expecting, when I first started this computer up, I had my Magic Mouse in the other room, and so I didn't have a mouse connected. And as soon as I tried to pair my MX Master, I just clicked the button on the back and it connected, and that was kind of awesome. So I'm going to imagine there's not a ton of Bluetooth issues, which is, good to hear. It's just kind of, when you jump up in the generation, you expect a lot of those little things, those little nuances to be updated, and so far, so good, it looks like. And as a lot of us are well aware, there's nothing different about the backs and the exteriors of these computers, same port selection, roughly the same things. Most of the refresh is done on the inside of the computer. I also don't want to make this too much of a comparison video. I kind of want to compare the M1 and the M2 Mac Mini separately for the things that I like to do that are a little more intense, like photo editing and video editing, and so I'll kind of dial up some tests for that when I have a moment, and just so people can see that there's a jump in performance, or not, who knows, it might not be. I also did get the base model, so 8 gigabytes, 256 gigs of storage. 256 gigs, obviously not a lot. So when I do use these, I typically have an SSD. I have, some fast, 500 gigabyte SSDs. I have some slower speed 2 terabyte SSDs just to kind of have, a bigger storage option if I'm having a large day and I don't need to work from those drives. It's also been noted that the internal storage on these is a little bit slower, especially on these base models. For my purposes, I haven't seen that it's going to be a big deal. Again, I'll try to stress test those things a little bit, maybe with some video editing. But I typically, if I'm working on a video and I want to switch from, my laptop to my desktop, which I'll do from time to time, I'm going to have external storage plugged in anyway. Even though I haven't compared the M1 Mac Mini and the M2 Mac Mini, I did create a little bit of a stress test on my MacBook Pro. It's the M1 MacBook Pro. It's not a Max or an Ultra, anything like that. And doing the stress test, which was 2 layers of 4K video, some transitions, some graphics. It rendered a 4.5 minute video in 10 minutes and 7 seconds, and it exported in 15 minutes and 16 seconds. So I hooked that up to the M2 Mac Mini just to try to compare the two and see what it was doing. And I was shocked because the render on that 4.5 minute video took longer on the M2 Mac Mini, with 11 minutes and 19 seconds. But, so, you know, I imagine that it was going to take a little bit longer to export the video. That was not the case. It actually surprised me. And the export on that 4.5 minute video was 13 minutes and 52 seconds on the M2 Mac Mini. So I kind of like that it's doing a faster export. It'd be nice if it did rendered and exported faster, but beggars can't be choosers, especially at like a $600 price point. Like, that's kind of amazing. And you have to consider that the MacBook that I'm using has 16 gigs of RAM. So, you know, whatever the M2 Mac Mini is doing, I like it. I like that it has the fast export. No complaints on that from me. I also didn't write a script for this video, so I'm sorry if I'm jumping around a little bit. But I do want to talk about that price because, you know, $700 for that M1 Mac Mini was already just such a great price. If it was the same price this year, I would have bought it happily. But the fact that you're able to get this thing, you can see I'm smiling a little bit now because I'm talking about it. Be able to get this thing for $600 and it's going to perform well, even against my MacBook Pro, like, that's amazing. I'm already super happy with that fact, just because, like, if you're on a tight budget and you already have the monitor, keyboard, whatever, like all this stuff, like, you're gonna be able to really upgrade a setup even if you're just jumping from M1 to M2, and that's pretty phenomenal, especially at a $600 price point. If you're in the market for a computer, especially a desktop computer, and you're on a tight budget, I think it's like impossible to beat this thing. $600, $500 if you can get the education pricing, which if you're a student or an educator, that's also a great price. It's super cool that Apple does that. And like, if you're just doing web browsing, handling emails, like, this thing's gonna knock it out of the park. And it just speaks to the reliability and the usability of the Mac Mini and how it's grown over the year, even though it's small. Pun. And so honestly, I'm really excited to use this thing. I have my hesitations about the RAM, about the storage space. So, you know, I do photography and video professionally, and so don't be surprised if you see me upgrading to the Pro version of this M2 Mac Mini, just because it might suit my needs a little bit better, especially when I'm doing a lot of video editing. I'll probably make that jump. Especially, I just like to have a home workstation. You know, I don't like to be on the go editing all the time, and so this machine I may rely on a little bit more than I think I will in the future, especially knowing that it's, at least on the video side, it's going to outperform my old Mac Mini and maybe even my MacBook to some degree. I will also try to edit this video on this M2 Mac Mini. I shoot on the FX30 and sometimes the files are pretty big, so if I see like a noticeable slowdown or anything like that, I'll report back at the end of this video. But other than that, like, I'm super hyped to have this. Don't know what I'll do with this M1 Mac Mini, especially because it has all these cool El Paso stickers. But it's a reflector too. But I don't know, I may have this for a different purpose. I may have it in my bedroom desk setup versus my office. Maybe do some streaming, some video game streaming, some podcasting, stuff like that. So it may be good just to have this thing around and keep it around, just because it's such a great value for what it is. I'll also say, if you're on a bit of a tighter budget and you know you find this M1 Mac Mini at a lower price, still just going to perform really, really well for you, especially if you're doing the more general tasks. Like, this thing's going to be great. Also, if you find this or an upgraded one on a refurbished store, like, it's going to do incredible for you too, and it might just help you save money if you need to buy it, a monitor, or if you want to upgrade your mice or whatever the case may be. So it's, worth looking in the Apple refurbished store. Sometimes there's some like real gems in there, especially when there's a new version or an upgraded version coming out. And so always worth checking out Apple's refurbished store in general. I think the coolest thing about the Mac Mini is that it's going to suit like 90% of people's needs. And so if you have the things, the mice, the peripherals, like, this thing is going to work wonders for you. It's going to be reliable for a bunch of years. It's going to be a lot faster than you expect. And, it's really hard to beat at that price range. $600, not a lot for a computer. Again, I don't have too much to talk about. I'm really excited about having this M2 Mac Mini. If I'm at a point where I can upgrade to the M2 Pro, I'll do that and I'll bring you guys a video. If you have any questions or anything that you wanted me to test. I'm not a huge benchmark guy. I don't do a lot of charts, especially Apple charts. If you want to see, a lot of my reasoning for wanting to upgrade, I'll link to the other video that I did, just about the announcement of the M1, or the M2 Mac Minis, just to kind of give you guys some perspective on why I made this upgrade and why this Mac Mini will be important to me. I make a lot of tech content, cameras. I'm a photographer, not a big photographer. Well, I'm big in size, but not big in notoriety. And so I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to do more tech reviews, Apple things. So yeah, I'll link a playlist. If you have any questions or things, ideas that I should make videos about, let me know. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. I really geek out for tech products, or if you think there's a tech product that I should review that's, a lot of people are interested in, let me know, because if I can afford it, I'll probably try to buy it. That's just kind of like my terrible motto that's very enabling. But yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Press the buttons. I'm going to bring more videos on this as I learn more things about it. And so it'd be great if you were interested in this type of content, just to, be supportive and be along for the ride, because, I'm also trying to support smaller channels that are trying to get off the ground. And I think we could all do a better job of that. So yeah, any thoughts, leave them below. But for now, have a great week.